As college football purists, we are glad that despite all this conference realignment and Oregon and Washington moving to the Big Ten, that they were able to salvage this one. The powers that be got together and rescheduled a lot of games to move Oregon State, that traditional last weekend of the season rivalry, back on the schedule for 2024. Oregon stumbling out of the gates here in 2024 with two narrow wins over the likes of Idaho and Boise State, taking on Oregon State, a 21-0 winner over San Diego State. Of course, we got Steve Merrill on the line from Wager Talk to break it down for us, Steve.
So it's interesting. We not only have Oregon State here in week 3, but we have Washington State, Washington. You know, Mark, if you and I had done the show 5 years ago and we could see the advanced schedule in 5 years, we would have been very confused. We would have thought there was like another COVID pandemic and maybe they were
Yes.
playing a 3-game season. I would have been very concerned, actually, had I seen this, because I would have thought this was like the final week of a 3-game college football season. It's interesting. I'm a William & Mary alum. They're FCS, of course, very good program here, and found out that the Richmond Spiders are moving to the Patriot Conference in the near future. It's from the Colonial, the CAA here. And Coach Mike London went to Richmond. He's a William & Mary coach now, and he was saying he does not want to play Richmond anymore in the I-64 Cup anymore. It's one of the longest rivalries in college football, like the third or fourth longest over 100 years. And they want the conference games to finish the season. And this is exactly what you're dealing with here with Oregon State, Washington State, Washington. So we're going to see more of this, but it is nice that they still match up. It's not the same handicap that we often have at the end of the season. I do kind of factor in rival dogs more in November than I probably do third week of September. With that said, let's look at the database simulation. I've got the Oregon Ducks on average winning this game by just over 14 points, about 14.5 points. Current line is 16.5. And actually, as we're doing this now, it's going to 17 in a lot of locations on the Wager Talk Live odds screen. 17, of course, is a very key number. We talked about that number in the Alabama-Wisconsin preview, so check that out on that team channel, as that was sitting 16.5. But this one is hitting 17 now in more spots. So I do think it's 17 or more. There's some line value with Oregon State. Could also make the case that maybe they're a defensive dog here. Impressive 21-0 shutout of San Diego State last week. Now, I know the Aztecs offensively have looked pretty questionable this year, but still, you've got an Oregon State team that's given up only 15 points all season in 2 games, catching 16.5, 17 now. Meanwhile, the Oregon Ducks, as you mentioned, barely beat Boise. Now, Boise is a team, a lot of sharps. We talked about this on the channel. A lot of preseason sharp money came on Boise. Season win totals over. Boise national title futures. Had they won that Oregon game, it would have really helped the cause. But Boise's a decent team this year. The Idaho game, just 24 points scored as a 49-point favorite, is concerning. They still had over 400 yards of offense, 380 passing. The Oregon was only able to run for 107 yards on 37 carries. So I do think Oregon State's run defense is going to be in play here. And at 17 or more, the Beavers look like a defensive home dog.
Steve, I don't know if you caught this, but a Oregon punt returner dropped the ball at the half-yard line and going in for a touchdown, and it was picked up by a teammate that could have cost his team the win outright. And Boise State, as a 19-point dog, could have pulled off another upset for a double-digit dog that would have churned some money, exchanged some hands with some betting lines there. Interesting. Oregon State. And as Steve mentions, you can go to the various team channels and check out Steve's segments with us here at the Voice of College Football concerning all the big games on a Saturday. And of course, the under the radar pick. It's a phenomenon at this point. 23-5 against the spread for Steve. Check out this week's pick, and you can do it right now. College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under the radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Deace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.